Welcome everyone and happy Thanksgiving. I'd like to begin by welcoming our panel members. Leanne Burney has 3 children at the Giles School. Kevin Chang has 2 children at the Giles School. And Jenny Lee is a former student who is currently in grade 10. I'd also like to wave a special thanks to Ada Morani, who is providing tech support for me today, and all the folks at Our Kids. As well, I'd like to do a huge shout out to Caroline Bernaba, who is the most incredible vice principal you could ever imagine. Over the next hour, I'll be asking a series of questions to help our newcomers at Giles learn more about how we help our students become world ready. We will leave about 10 minutes at the end for questions from the floor, and please feel free to add questions as we go in the chat room. So, without further ado, I'm going to begin by asking a question to Jenny, our alumni student. Jenny, what did you appreciate most about the school during your time there?
I think the thing that I appreciated the most was the atmosphere. Like the parents, the teachers, the kids, everyone was just so accepting and welcoming and warm, which I think is like crucial.
Yes.
There's someone joining.
Yeah.
Which is crucial for, especially for like elementary school and kindergarten, the lower grades, because like going to school, when you first go to an actual elementary school, it's so different than what you're used to, right?
Yes.
And the atmosphere of just everyone that you're there to learn, not to be perfect, was just so helpful, and it really helped me become the person I am today, because I'm not afraid to make mistakes. I'm not afraid to answer questions, because I know that in the long run they will be so beneficial to me and my learning. Not only that, my like emotional and social growth as well. So I think I have a lot to thank the Giles like atmosphere for.
Awesome, thank you. Leanne, what did you choose the Giles School? Why did you choose it originally? Is it what you expected?
I would say it's what I expected and more. I chose initially because I was looking to challenge my children at school, and I loved the idea of exposing them to multiple languages. And when I was searching for a school, it was very important to me that French, that they learn French. Mm-hmm. And I was very impressed with the academic program at Giles. I did the tour and saw what the children were working on, and I was so impressed and very surprised to see them working at such a high level. And I also idea that the class sizes were small, and I found that once my kids started here, they were able to get the attention that they needed to excel. The one thing I didn't expect, that the teachers and administrators are so loving and nurturing. They're very approachable, and they care so much about the students.
Great, thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, so I've got 2 boys in the school right now, one in grade 3 and one that just started in junior kindergarten. And really what drove us to choose Giles is I had a couple of, my wife Jackie had a close friend who had 2 children in the school already, and I had a colleague, I actually had 2 colleagues who had children in Giles, and so they spoke very highly of what their children's experiences were. And so when we saw it firsthand, it had a lot of the attributes we wanted in a school. So as Leanne mentioned, a more intimate learning environment. We think it gives the children a lot more one-on-one time. The exposure to multiple languages, I think, has been helpful. And yeah, it's been basically everything we expected and more, and a really reflection of what we had heard from parents that we had talked to during our due diligence.
Great, thank you. So Kevin, another question. What's the biggest impact the school's had on your children so far?
Yeah, I would say, outside of the academics, it does feel as though, that's a significant focus of the school. The other thing I've noticed, especially with my older one who's in grade 3, is a certain level of confidence, especially in when it comes to public speaking, in dealing in maybe a more social network. And I think part of that is because of we have 2 assemblies where they're presenting in front of a large group of people. They're doing weekly recitals in front of their class. So I think that comfort around speaking publicly, around interacting amongst large groups of people, I think has been definitely a differentiator relative to, at least I think of my own experience when I went through a public school system, where I don't think that stuff, at least 25 years ago or 30 years ago, I don't think that was part of the curriculum.
Fair. Thank you. Leanne, did you want to add about biggest impact, because you've got 3 kids?
Sure. Yes, I have 3 boys as well. I would completely agree with what Kevin said. I think the thing I noticed was that they were becoming more and more confident in their abilities. And as Kevin said, I find that they're very confident speaking publicly because they get to do it so regularly at school. I also really like my older son now that he's in grade 4. He's learning how to be a leader, and I really appreciate the efforts that the school is making to teach him how to do that. I find that as the boys get older, they're becoming more and more responsible. They themselves are telling me, I need to finish this for homework. I need to do this for my test, and I've noticed that they aren't shy to ask questions when they don't understand something. So I would just, Evan said that they're just becoming confident.
Awesome. So Jenny, what do you think differentiates Giles from other schools?
Yeah, see, the thing when I first came to high school, the thing that surprised me the most was how kind of segregated it was in terms of the parents involvement in the school and the child's involvement in the school. Because what I was used to is the teachers, the educators, everyone there being as close or similarly close to the parents as they were with the students, because at Giles, communication is everything between everyone in your family, right?
Yeah.
And when I first came to high school, it was like, I have an English teacher and my mom doesn't even know who my English teacher is. So it's something that I find was very useful in my time at Giles, that I could get help as easily as I needed because everyone was so close. And not even that, like within the parent community of the students at Giles, all of the parents were so close. So it was perfect for me because when I wanted to go see my friends, my parents already knew the parents of the person that I wanted to hang out with. And there was just a real feeling of trust, I think, because everyone was so close with each other. And it made my experience so much more enriching to know that everyone was kind of in this together.
Nice. So one of the questions that both groups have been asked is to say, what are 3 words that describe Giles for you? So let's hear what you have to think, Jenny. You said a few words already, but if you had to choose 3, what would they be?
If I had to choose 3 words, it's tough. I have so many words to say. I think overall nurturing, accepting, and knowledgeable, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Because something I find at the school, they're not only knowledgeable in the content of the education, but also in the deliverance of said learning and things like that, and the way in which they teach the students to educate each other and to educate themselves, right? So I think that's a big importance, in that it's not only, although it's a huge part, the content of the education, it's also how one interprets it to make it the most profitable and like the most fruitful it can be.
Awesome. Thank you. Kevin, your thoughts on the same. What are your 3 words?
Yeah, I think I'd echo a lot of what Jenny said. I think there's family is I think something that sticks out to me as I think of my kids' experience at the school. There's a family atmosphere. leadership, it's something Leanne mentioned. I think that's something that is nurtured within the walls of the school there, and maybe academics. I think that there's a concerted effort and push to kind of accelerate their learning curve, maybe for the children there, and I think that's been noticeable for me as well.
Awesome, thank you. Leanne, your 3 words.
I would agree with what words have already been said. I would start with loving, because I think the environment is very nurturing and loving at the school. Respectful. I've always been impressed by the way the kids respect one another and respect the parents and the teachers. And I would also say hard. I think the kids work hard while they're there, and they achieve great things as a result.
Awesome, thank you. Let me see, there's a few more questions. So Leanne, now I've got you on. What do your kids say about the Giles School? What do you hear from them?
My kids love their school. The class sizes are small, as we've already said. So my old, when he started, he came in grade 2, and so I worried about him making friends and fitting in, but that happened very quickly. Very quickly, he fit into the group, and it was almost as if he'd known them for years. So the class sizes are small, and the kids develop really close friends with one another. Also, I found that they love that they're able to explore their interests. There's a lot of after-school programs and clubs that my older son in particular has enjoyed, such as chess. All 3 of my kids have done chess at lunchtime. Right now, my old is doing a robotics class once a week, and he really enjoyed stamp club last year, which and I think there was currency club as well. So there's a lot of different clubs and activities that allow the kids to explore their interests.
Great, thank you. Kevin, what do your kids say about school?
So my oldest, couldn't wait to get back after obviously everything was shut down for 5 months. So that might be telling. He couldn't. If there was a meme, it would have been him in a cloud of smoke running to the school the first week of September. Couldn't get out of the house fast enough. So I think that kind of tells my wife and I, how much he missed it, and a lot of the friendships he's been making there, obviously, to physically reconnect with his friends was important. Mm-hmm. I think he also enjoys the classwork. I think he enjoys a lot of the subjects, as Leanne mentioned, a lot of the after-school and extracurricular activities. He enjoys. He was part of the chess club, for example, during the lunchtime, and so I think he's had an opportunity to kind of do things that maybe he wouldn't have otherwise been doing if it wasn't for the opportunities presented at Giles. My junior kindergarten, my 4-year-old, he's liking it more every day. I can tell you that for sure. And he's singing a lot of French songs, so something's definitely sticking.
Good. He's taking it home. Good stuff. Okay. Good. Jenny, what would you change about the Giles School?
I was talking to my sister about this to kind of get more perspective, because I was kind of coming up with very few ideas, but I think the thing that I would want to have changed the most would be the gym curriculum, maybe, because I am a very athletic person. I do dance, I do swimming, I love movement and everything like that. And I understand there needs to be a balance between the education and the physical activity. But I think gym class was always my favorite. And I think competing in like the sports competitions, we used to do soccer and basketball and things like that, those were really a highlight of my year. So I think if I could change anything, I would have more of that sort of implemented, because I think it really helps in being well-rounded. Mm-hmm. But see, it's hard, because I know that for that to have happened, there needs to be things taken out of the rest of the curriculum, or else we'd have a 12-hour school day. So, but that's just the one thing that I would change.
Fair. Thank you. Similar question, Leanne. Do you have some ideas I think that could be helpful?
Well, overall, I would say it's pretty close to perfect. But I would agree with, if I could change one thing, it would probably be, we're a sports family, so my kids do a lot of sports after school, and they in sports. So yes, I would agree. It'd be, in a perfect world, we could do more in gym or physical education.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I always took the view that since my kids are doing so much after school, that that it's okay that they go to school and focus on the.
Sure. Kevin.
Yeah, I guess having more of those resources allocated to gym, or maybe athletic stuff. I think that's something that in a perfect world we could all have more of.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe selfishly, and I know it's always a push and take. I would love it if Giles just went up to grade 12. One, to make my life easier, because it would just be there the whole time. But yeah, I think I think given the experiences that at least I've had, I think if they could continue on with that environment, basically through their school, their primary and high school years, I think would be maybe an ideal scenario. But that's not the setup today, right? We go to grade 8.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I've only got a couple questions left, but what advice, Jenny, if I asked you, you would give kids coming to the school, let's say new kids coming to the school from, say, grade 4 on up, what advice might you give them?
I think it might sound very cliche, but I think my one piece of advice would be just be yourself. Like the thing that I appreciate about Giles is no matter who you are, like how you act, you will be accepted there, and you will find friends, you'll find your community. Everything will be okay in the long run, as long as you yourself are happy. So I feel like a lot of kids in elementary and middle school feel like the pressure to be something else, to fit in with the crowd that is popular at that time. But at Giles, I think it's just important to remember that everyone there is there to learn and grow together, and really just overall just to be happy, to have fun while you're still a kid. And the education is a big part of it. The social bonds is a big part of it. But I think that as long as you yourself are confident and proud of your individuality, I think that your time will be beautiful, as long as you're really confident in that.
Thank you. Wow. So last question is about surprises. What do families find as the most surprising thing about the Giles School? And that includes you. Start with you, Jenny, if you want to start, and then I can.
Yeah. So I think the thing that was most surprising for me at Giles was that the students, the friendships were not only made within their own grade, but at a huge range across grades. So I remember when I was in grade 4, I'd be talking to people in grade 6 and looking up to people like older than me and younger than me. And I think that really helps with leadership, because it's a real world example of when leadership and responsibility comes into play. And that's taught in class, of course, but then it's also being able to apply outside of the classroom, right? Which I think it's so beneficial for children to see where like a more material view of where their future is going. And I think it's also been really helpful for me in high school too, because one of the things that my friends they're like, how are you friends with kids that are so much older than you? Do you have like the courage to like go up to them, ask them for advice, ask questions about subjects and opportunities at the school? And I will admit, at first I was very scared of the older grades because it's high school. High school is scary. But after a while, I remembered that they're just people. They're people like me. And I think that Giles helped me a lot with developing that viewpoint, because I was used to communicating and collaborating with people older than me and younger than me. And I think that's something that was super surprising and very, very helpful.
Interesting. Somebody asked me the other day about the difference between multi-grade and split grade. And there's a big difference academically if people do the research. And so, if we do have a 7-8 class together, the 7s are learning what the 8s are learning. They're not like, oh, for this half hour, I'm going to do grade 7, and this half hour, I'm going to do grade 8, and they get their time split. That's not how it works. And neither do you have a business where, all the 41-year-olds are on the second floor and the 42-year-olds are on the third floor. And so this is actually mirroring a lot more of the real world. And so your example is very fresh. I'm certainly going to share that, Jenny, because I think that there's something about that, that you really need to look at. It's definitely not a deterrent to have kids of different ages working with each other. Just like in sports, where you can have an 8-year-old gymnast be much better than a 12-year-old gymnast, but having them in the same group means they're going to be able to rub off and improve upon one another. And the same thing can go with academics. For people to assume that the grade 8 is going to be the most intelligent and they're being brought down because there's 7s in the room is ridiculous, because we do know that intelligence really isn't about age. So thanks for sharing that. Sorry, I kind of went on a little spiel. You made me think of something that I thought I might share. Leanne, your comments about surprises.
I was surprised as well. I would say about how quickly my boys made close friends with kids at the school, and I would also agree with Jenny. I'd be surprised if I had to come pick them up at lunch. Let's say, I'd be surprised to find my boys in the schoolyard playing with kids of all ages. It wasn't just kids from their own class. I guess that's pre-COVID rules, but I really love that because it just shows how close knit the whole school is, and I was really surprised at how intelligent and capable and confident all the kids were. I just found them really impressive for such young children to be so confident and so knowledgeable. I really amazed by that.
Great. Kevin, surprises.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would say maybe outside of what was mentioned already, maybe one of the things that surprised me was maybe how close the family is within Giles, like how close the parents are with one another, how as Jenny mentioned, how close parents are with their teachers, so that you're not just getting an update once a semester from your teacher to get a sense of how your child is doing. You can almost get an update daily, weekly. You have a better pulse on maybe what's happening in your child's learning and how they're doing in school. And I thought that surprised me. Just given my own experience was it was a much more formulaic relationship, right? Like you saw my parents saw my teacher once a year, and that's when they got an update, and that was probably the only 30 minutes they ever talked to my teacher. So and then it's not like my parents knew any other kids' parents. So that sense of family, I think, is something that was a positive surprise and maybe unique when it comes to Giles.
certainly that came up quite a bit. We've done, every summer we do the Giles Summer Survey, and that was the one common feature between staff, parents, and students, was that sense of family. And that came through really loud and clear as being certainly also a lot of people supporting the enriched academic program, but that helps us make decisions at the school level when we want to get feedback from the different community members. So I guess right now we have finished all the questions that we were asked to ask, but we have a little bit more time. If anybody has anything else they really want to share and sort of think about it, perhaps that you're speaking to people that aren't part of our community right now, because what they'd like to do is take this recording and put it on we can put it on our website, for example, so other people can hear about it. Because I get asked a lot about, what do the alumni think? Where are some sample families? And normally we just give, an email out or a phone number out if families are willing to talk to potential new families. But this is something that Our Kids is doing for us. So if you've got something that you think one more thing to share with folks, by all means, jump in.
Yeah, I think something else that I haven't been able to speak to just from my personal experience is, I know we've talked about in general, like the parents have mentioned their kids making friends there, but I feel like it's important to really show the extent of the friendships that I have made while I was at Giles. So even though I still go to school with one of my close friends from Giles, and it just the bond that we have, it's like, even though we don't see each other every day, of course, because of school and COVID, I know that if we met up again, it would instantly be the same dynamic as it was the last time we saw each other. And I think that really helps the overall learning, being close with the people in your class, because it's like they inspire you to be a better person, which I think is just, it's really inspirational looking back on it, just how impactful it can be to have kids that close, especially from a young age, because it teaches you the value of balancing the educational aspect and the social aspect.
Great, thank you.
Something I would add that I don't think I've emphasized enough is just how wonderful all teachers are at the school. I haven't, they're fantastic, and they care so much about the kids. As Kevin said, you won't be hearing about an issue for the first time during a parent-teacher interview. You'll know right away if there's an issue, or if there's something that they're concerned about, something they think maybe even something they did really great. You'll hear about it, and you'll get that feedback because they genuinely care about the kids and want to help them succeed.
Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, I would say, for parents that are considering Giles, maybe if I were to, reflect some of the experiences some of my colleagues have had, where their kids have now, like Jenny, have moved on. It just feels like Giles has created such a great foundation. At least when I talk to these parents about, and I guess their children are alumni now, as they moved on to high school and so on and so forth, just how much of a great foundation Giles did provide their students, and not just academically, I think socially, and some of the friendships and bonds I think Jenny mentioned that she's developed through the years seems to permeate with what I hear from parents who have kids that are also alumni. So I think that's an important consideration when you think of the child's overall academic career.
Great, thank you. Well, I guess in closing, a couple things that I'll mention. We're talking a lot now about being world ready or preparing globally ready citizens, and you can't just do that with academics in isolation. So the importance of having a social conscience and so on in this day and age is really important. And so the fact that the staff and all the people, when we're sitting down looking at programming and so on, we pay attention to all of these things, because balance is really important. You don't want to have a lot of knowledge and not have a conscience in what you do with it. So so hearing your experiences, Jenny, really are really affirming, certainly from me, and I know the staff is going to be really excited. I want them all to take time and go through the video. Some of them are going to be an hour long at other schools. Ours is going to be a little shorter, but I really appreciate the time that everybody has taken on a Thanksgiving weekend, because we're pretty excited about what the Giles School is doing and what we plan to do next. So thanks again. Appreciate all your time.